Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a rockin' week thus far. Today is the last week of December. Today is the final episode of 2022, and it happens to be the end of the quarter, which means we have our end of quarter review with the great Jennifer Flynn.
Happy to be here. Glad to be back. Happy holidays to everyone, no matter what you celebrate, and a soon to be Happy New Year.
Yes. So, this is our special episode, end of quarter review. As you know, we started this from the beginning of the year. Each quarter we're breaking down exactly the elements that you need to focus on to make sure that you have your best year. And so I'm going to let Jennifer take the wheel here because she is the queen of all of this stuff, and she's been helping us out. So let's recap a little bit, Jennifer, of in case someone missed it, what they need to start doing, and let's review what we've been working on this year.
Absolutely. And it is a very natural time. I mean, certainly at the end of every quarter, but this quarter in particular, to look at the year that was and also be very attentive to the year that's about to be. And so these elements that we've been unpacking, the 9 elements of my intuitive business atlas, are, really coming together right now, but, from a calendar perspective, but also since this is our 4th installment, we've got 9 elements. We've unpacked 2 elements each quarter in depth. So please go back and review those episodes. If you're just new to the podcast and you're just now getting introduced to this business atlas and you want to hear more about what these 9 elements are, I'll review what the 9 elements are. And then we're going to unpack the last 2 big ones, the last of the 3 that are left, the 9, 7, 8, and 9. The 9th we've been unpacking a little bit every quarter, which is mentorship. We weave mentorship into everything we do. It's why you're here. It's why you're listening, because you're looking for expert guidance on what you can be doing better or what you can be doing that you haven't been doing at all. So the 9 elements, just for everyone's review, are mindset, mission, marketing, money conversations, mechanisms and means, momentum, monetization, measuring, and mentorship. And today we're going to unpack monetizing and measuring. And we'll talk a little bit more about mentorship, which we've talked about each time, because mentorship, as we all know, is really important. If you want to reach beyond where you can see, you've got to be in connection with those who've gone there before you or who are currently there. And mentorship is just exceedingly important, no matter what industry you're in, to have expert guidance so you can move easier, faster, and reach your full potential.
Yes. Awesome. So Jen, let me ask you this question before we move on. What is there any expectation that if they have been following from the beginning to now that they should be witnessing, or is this not like that? I got that question at the end of last quarter, so I wanted to bring it forth to you now.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to answer this question correctly, so steer me if I'm not catching the meaning. But when we think about these, certainly we've outlined them in a 1 to 9 fashion, with the implication that you begin with mindset and then you end with mentorship. And the reality of it is if you were to take that straight line and fold it into a circle, these things are points along a wheel. And you can meet someone wherever they are in one of these things and affect change in that area and then move on around the wheel. They also can function independently of one another, but they are intended to be synergistic. So if you've been following since the beginning, the hope is that you've done that early assessment, and that each quarter you're reassessing your business with the toolkit that we provide you. And you're looking back on your progress, and you're seeing where maybe on this wheel are you. And in the toolkit, we do actually look at it like a wheel, where you'll rate yourself on a 1 to 10 for each of these elements on how you feel like you're performing, or how much attention that area of your business gets. So over the quarters, you should start to see that wheel leveling out a little bit, where you might have had some things that were 7 and some things that were 2, and the 2s are turning into 5s. And we're starting to get everything into more equality.
Okay. That's exactly what I was asking. So thanks a lot. All right. So let's go into the review of each quarter, first quarter, second quarter, third, and then what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay. So first quarter, we talked about the first 2, which was, we did a little overview, letting you know what the 9 elements are. And then we talked about mindset and mission. So mindset being very important in terms of, you could have a great strategy, but if you don't have a good mindset to go with it, your strategy is going to fail. Whereas you could have a fantastic mindset and not the super strategy, but you're still going to have some success, because your mindset is really what is the conductor of the train, so to speak. Mission is about clarity on, who we are and what we do and how we're going to do it, what our purpose is on the planet. And then the second quarter, we reviewed marketing and money conversations, which kind of go hand in hand. We talked about internal and external marketing, and how, kind of what my philosophies on those marketing things were. I would say that was definitely a very interesting episode, because your marketing is your jam. And so both of our expertise kind of collaborated there. And money conversations is how we protect that marketing and the investment that you make, and making sure that you're converting those leads into paying clients, customers, and actual business. Because if you can't convert, then you're spending a lot of time and energy and effort and resources, certainly money being one of those resources, on your marketing efforts. And you need to be able to convert it. It's not enough to get the leads if you don't get the leads actually inside your sphere of influence. And then
that was definitely my favorite. That was definitely my favorite episode.
I think that's been my favorite. But prior to now, we'll see what today brings.
Let's see what happens today. Yes.
that was definitely, if you haven't heard that one, go back to marketing and money conversations, because if you do not have a really strong marketing base that's bringing in your leads, you do not have strong ability to have money or sales conversations comfortably and confidently, then you don't have a business. It's the gateway to all other things. And yes, it's kind of smack in the middle, but of the 9 elements. But, if we're looking at it from a perfect world, we're going to look at these things kind of in this order. And then last quarter, we talked about mechanisms and means and momentum, which also kind of go hand in hand, because once we get the marketing, then we have converting leads. Now we have people to serve. We really need to have good systems and processes in order to support the volume and the consistency of experience for those we serve. And systems and processes also take pressure off of the entrepreneur, so that you can do more, be more, but not burn out. The key is, we want you to have a business that's a vehicle for a life you love to live, not that's stealing the life you have. And then momentum is being able to have good habits and keep an accountability and support to keep the train moving, to keep, the steam engine going. And then today we're going to talk about monetizing and measuring and mentorship. But monetizing and measuring, I'll dive a little bit more into those. But essentially, it's where, when the business is humming along, how do we reach beyond that without burning out? How do we maximize our full potential? And then what is it that we need to be looking at? KPIs, profit and losses. Like, these are the things, talking about actually having a diagnostic tool to know which of these elements need you to turn the screw.
I'm going to dive in here, Jen. I'm going to give you a shameless plug here. And this is where you would need someone like a Jen Flynn in your side, because measuring, I mean, it's the way she does it is amazing. And keeps you, I guess, makes you alert of what's going on in your business and just keeps you in business. So I just wanted to give you that little plug there, Janet. Sorry.
Well, thank you. That would be our mentorship category, right? Certainly. And tucking in a little bit on our favorite episode, our favorite quarter with the money conversations and the marketing. Measuring is really important to your marketing because it tells you whether it's an internal or an external marketing opportunity to turn the screw there. It's really going to tell us where in our atlas on our map do we need to give attention. So we can dive right in to monetizing if you'd like.
Yep, let's do it.
So monetizing is great. Like it's one of my favorite things to talk about because it's really about taking your business to the next level. Again, reaching your full potential without burning you out and making sure that it is a catalyst for a life you love living, getting everything. Once we've gotten good systems and process, like we talked about last time, and we've got momentum, then we really want to look at monetizing. And it really comes down to expanding your business and also taking things that you already have and being able to fully leverage them. We want to make sure that you're maximally leveraged. Now, again, before I kind of jump into this too much, I want to really point out that this is all done with big picture view in context. This is not about the grind. This is not about burning out the person or like you having to just be at full capacity and speed all the time. If you look back at our previous episode where we talked about mechanisms and means, or what I like to call systems and processes, we got to those have to be in place for you to be able to leverage everything: your time, your content, your products, your programming, your experience, whatever it is. We want to create more growth, and you have to be very conscious of that big picture strategy. Like, what is my overall business model that I'm growing into? It doesn't have to be where you are right now. Some people might be in a very like one-on-one exchange where their time is their product. And there's a limit to that. You can only grow so big because you only have so much time and there's only one of you. And so that's where we might have to clone with the team. It might mean that we take your intellectual product and we start to create something from it so that you can reach a one-to-many audience. It might mean that we need to merchandise something or create a product to solve a problem that our audience has that we can, not have to be responsible for one-on-one delivery of. It really depends on your business model. But the big picture is we want to give you a growth path that we leverage the potential for everything in your organization to reach that maximum growth. Because if you don't, you're going to run into a glass ceiling in both your income, but also your personal and professional expression. You want to go to a place where, it isn't just about making more money, but it is about having more freedom. Because previously we would have filled up all your hours for dollars. And if once those hours are full, you can either raise your prices, which there's going to be a ceiling for that. But we really need to look at what are the other ways that you can take what you have. And we want to create a passive income source, which a leveraged income source is passive and leveraged income sources kind of get lumped together a little bit. To me, a leveraged income source is something that you can offer, but you can maybe get more people into the time you're offering it. You're fully leveraging it, but we might leverage it to create products or, like I said, merchandise, things that can create sales revenue while you're sleeping, which would be passive income. And you have to be really clear on what it is you have within you in order to be able to do that. Passive income is really where the financial freedom is going to come in. That's where you can start surpassing what you might have previously labeled as your income or your revenue goal, because you feel like, people set this goal and they don't want to go past that because they feel like what they are trading is their life for it or their time for it. And so they don't want to go beyond that. They keep themselves small because they think burnout's on the other side of it. And they're not always wrong. If you don't have a good monetizing strategy, if you can't see the bigger picture of your own offerings and realize how you can repurpose or repackage it, or upcycle it, then you will feel like you're stuck. And that's tends to be where my particular gifts come in, is really looking at somebody's suite of services and who their ideal client base is, and helping them maximize every opportunity and tap into their entire model and craft this aligned expansion. And, the question I often get here is, how do I know when I need to start thinking about this? And typically, if you're deep in the trench and you're like in the beginning, you're just needing to generate cash flow. And then there comes a point where you feel like you're bumping into the fact that your plate is full, and you're not going to make any more money with the more that you do because there's no more capacity. So that when people start to feel that pain point, that's typically when we need to start looking at monetizing.
Right. Gotcha. So the whole monetizing thing is an interesting concept to me, because that's really what keeps, like you were saying, keeps the train going on with your business. That's what really keeps you in business. And it goes in line with when we talked about the whole money conversation with the conversion thing. So that's an interesting tie there. All right. So what was our last one there?
Well, one little thing that just popped up as you were saying that I want to just touch on with monetizing is, it doesn't have to be like, I don't want to leave people with the impression that your business is less than if you don't scale beyond a certain point. Some people do just have a revenue point that if they make that, that's all they need to make. And they want to maintain a very healthy balance of time spent doing what they love in their zone of genius, and making sure that they can afford the lifestyle that they choose to engage in. And it doesn't have to mean you have world domination, and maybe you don't want to level a product, but most people want to engage in more freedom. So you can scale any model to where you don't have to have all these offerings, and you can still make more money by even leveraging your price point or leveraging your proximity in your audience to serve fewer people at a higher ticket and have more freedom. So there's lots of ways to monetize and leverage.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there are certain people who listen to the show who are solopreneurs. I have a couple of people who are sole practitioners, attorneys who listen to the show that they've told me. So yeah, I see what your point is.
I don't like to leave people out, because It doesn't mean you're less than, or you don't still need to engage in this element. It just may mean a little something different to you based on your long-term big picture goals.
And not to sidetrack you there, Jen, but you help people with figuring that out, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes it's just really needing to figure out what is going to make me happy, because when you're coming from a place of burnout and overwhelm already, it's hard to get back into the groove of what does feel good, because everything has just felt so overwhelming for so long that you kind of lose track of what feels good, and you don't even know what that might look like.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying our end of quarter episode. Jen and I will be right with you in a few minutes. While I have your attention though, it's very important that you understand that everything that we go over when it comes to setting up your business in the right way starts with having a website that works. What does your online presence look like right now? If you don't know, I will invite you to head over to my website, lbmsllc.com. On the homepage, you'll see a button that says Online Presence Report. Click on that button, request your free online presence report, and that's going to put you in a position to understand what's going on with your business from a digital marketing standpoint. That's going to help you then follow through with everything that Jen and I are talking about. With that, I'm going to bring you back to the show. So what's the last but not least?
Well, we've got measuring and
not
mentorship,
the last one,
but the next one in the kind of the big ones that are mentorship, as we've talked about in all of the previous quarters, is woven into every element and to the whole. But the other element that's kind of the standalone is measuring. And this is probably everyone's least favorite, next to sales or money conversations, maybe. But, and it's a lot of times because people don't know what they should be measuring. They don't know what all those numbers mean. They don't know how it applies to them. And sometimes people see shame around it and what they think it means, or that, like they're not making enough, or there's a lot of stories we tell around our numbers. And numbers is where I often see a lot of mindset stuff really, come to light. As I've alluded to before, measuring is a really good diagnostic tool for where in our business, what element needs our attention most, so that we don't throw spaghetti at the wall. And it's really important to be able to diagnose things in our business so that we can be really strategic about our changes, so that we can accelerate our results and be consistent, and we don't end up getting caught in some sort of trap that's hard to get ourselves out of. It's also important that we do it frequently so that we can have something where it's just a little turn of a screw instead of overhauling an entire engine. When we make these changes and we look at numbers and we understand what we're looking for and what they're indicators of, then we make changes on a frequent basis. And when we make changes frequently, typically they're a smaller change. If we wait an entire 6 months, if we wait an entire year, then you're going to have to make a bigger change, because there's a lot more that's gone on with this system or this place, within the wheel, that's not been functioning well. And I think it's a key indicator of your business's health. So you think about, if we want to be our healthiest, like in our bodies, we get an annual checkup. We look at our labs, we look at our blood work, we monitor from one period to the next changes that are happening in our body, and we notice trends. Well, your business financials are very much the same way. And it's not just financials as far as like your profit and loss, but it's also numbers like, how is my marketing doing? How many leads is it producing? How many leads am I converting? How many leads are staying over what period of time versus moving on? These are all performance indicators. And it helps us manage what our actions are and be very intentional and purposeful in what we do. And I actually have created this tool for some of my clients who are in a deeper engagement with me, where we actually can create a revenue generator based on measuring, where we can take their profit and loss statement from a 12-month period, break it down, and then we can actually create a mock-up tool that will allow you to see what monetizing your business would look like without the risk. You can look at, if I were to do this thing here, then it impacts all of these categories in X way, and I get Y result. And that can be really powerful. So it's like taking numbers, the thing that no one wants to look at, giving people a tool or a way that they can look at it in an exciting way that shows them, like, if I made this change, here's how it impacts everything. And then people get really much more motivated to take the actions, and it elevates your mindset. So you can see how each one of these steps is connected to the others, and they are intended to work synergistically. So even in measuring, we start to get excited. It shifts our mindset. We up level what we want to offer. We'll monetize things, which will make us pick up our marketing. They're really all designed to work synergistically.
It's funny, Jen. You mentioned earlier before you started talking about this, you said, this is probably the least favorite of many people. This is actually one of my favorites, because without measurements, I cannot help my clients. I can't tell them, oh, we should be doing more of X or Y if we're not measuring. So, one of the things I dislike is if I don't get to meet with them because they're too busy, quote unquote. Oh, I can't, Frank, just keep the phone ringing. I'm good. It's one of my least favorite statements that comes from any client is they're too busy, because I cannot measure properly. I can't guide them based on the numbers. I can only see what I can see, how many clicks they've had, how many calls they've had, but I don't know how much they're converting. So if, once, that conversation to me is very important for me to tweak and get them even better results. But yeah, that's actually one of my favorite things is measurements. I geek out when it comes to that.
Well, and that's why you're so good at what you do, because if they aren't paying close attention to those numbers, you don't know where to make the change in their marketing plan. And something could get broken that wasn't broken before. Exactly. Because we don't make the change in the particular area that needed the attention. And I think that those things are so mission critical to the success of your business, is to know what your numbers are. They are the key performance indicators. They are the reflection of what actions you're taking. And the only universal constant is we live in the results of our choices, which would equate to we live in the results of the actions that we're taking. Right. And if you aren't measuring that, if you don't have any data points for that, if you aren't looking at that, then you are losing control of your business and of the actions you could be taking that are strategically aligned with your mission.
Yep. That's so true. So true. That's one of the most important things. But it is a
big shame spiral. It can be a big shame spiral when you're looking only at profit and loss, when you're looking only at revenues and expenses. This is the problem, is that people don't know what to look at. And I shouldn't, I realize that's a very broad stroke. I'm not, I'm not all, certainly not all, but many business owners, in my experience, they're taught to look at just a few certain numbers, and that is the sweeping generalization of the success of their business. And there are lots of numbers within that give us a lot of important data that help us understand where our business may be crying out for our attention. And when we aren't taught to look at or look for those things, and we think that it's only about the big picture, revenue and expense, then we miss a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. But I think, from talking about the shame side, let's dig a little bit into that, because I think, if they can get past the shame, they can fix what's wrong. Say, oh, okay,
it's just a tool. Yeah, we put too much emotion on it as an indicator of our worthiness, our success, whether we're good at what we do. Right. Is that revenue number big enough? And, here's an example. I know, and so do you, Frank, know of businesses who might generate an incredible amount of money in revenue. And this business, let's call it business A, generates an incredible amount of money in revenue and has a lot of clients and a lot of reach. And when you look at the bottom line at the end of the day, it doesn't clear the same as business B, who's much smaller and who does much less in volume, but maybe has a different ticket price. And maybe they have significantly less revenue, but their profit margin is magnificently higher.
Exactly.
But it would be easy to look at someone else's profit and loss or compare yourself and feel like you're less than, because if you're only looking at, gross revenue.
Yeah. You got to know what you're looking for. And that's the bottom line. And why you are looking. Because you want to fix it. That's not, not to be shamed. It's really just for education.
It's a tool.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, do you want to break down mentorship a little bit, or
let's I think mentorship again is something we've kind of woven throughout, because each element could benefit from a guide. You being the hero of your own journey, but having a guide who's got the map and the flashlight for each of those elements to make sure that you're functioning optimally within each of those elements. But certainly in the element or in the idea of bringing all the elements together to function as a whole and ensuring that your business has the greatest potential for reaching all the goals that you set for it. And again, not just being about your business, but are you living a life that you want to live? Do you have enough freedom? Do you have enough joy? Do you get to spend your time in your business within your zone of genius and doing the parts that you love, surrounded by people who can do the parts that you don't, or having mechanisms and means or systems and processes to do the parts that you don't? Mm-hmm. But mentorship's an important piece to that puzzle so that you don't struggle against the wind, so that you don't feel like you're always going against the grain and wondering what you don't know.
Exactly. That's love it. Yeah, as always, you always got me speechless.
Thank you. You're always very, very complimentary, and it does also mean, when we think about mentorship, it's not just about one singular individual. Sometimes people often get caught, well, I already have a consultant for my business, or I already have a coach, or I have, this element or that element or whatever. Mentorship does not come in the form of one thing exclusively. It's having guides for, like, you go get a personal trainer to train your body. It doesn't mean that you stop there. You can have the guide for your business, the guide for your health and well-being, the guide for your personal life, your spiritual life, whatever it is. I think it's important to recognize that mentorship is something that happens all around us in many forms.
Yeah, that's true. And I've had several coaches, as you know, Jen, and it's true. I mean, sometimes you align better with others, and so you got to try different coaches, and even if you align well with one, it's not harmful to try another one either way. Just to maybe solidify that, but that's
or having more than one at a time. It's not a one or the other. It doesn't have to be either or. It can be both and. I've certainly worked with companies and individuals that have more than one consultant, and or individuals who have more than one coach, and recognizing, like, this coach is helping me do that. And then, like, for a lot of people, I'm kind of the hub coach, where they might have a spiritual coach, they might have somebody that just works on systems in their business, or they might also be seeing a therapist or something for their own personal growth and development. And, like, I'm the place where they bring all of that, and then we tie it together and make sure that it kind of filters out to every stop on the map, and that it's being implemented and integrated.
Yep, that's true. I mean, I didn't think about it that way. I always go with one coach at a time, but it is good to have more than one at one time. That's not a bad idea. So, as a matter of fact, I think that's what the what the big guys do.
Yeah, well, it's about having. I think the most important thing is alignment. That everyone's aligned with your common goals and where you want to be, and everyone is collectively moving you toward that, and that you aren't splattered or fragmented. There's a balance. I think that's where the alignment piece comes in, is, I have seen people work with different people, and those people are telling them all different contradicting things to do. And then they just feel splattered. The key is to make sure that you've got people working in concert, and that they're all aligned with where you want to go, and functioning again in synergy.
Awesome. Well, I mean, unless you have anything else, Jen, I think this has been one of the best years with marketing solutions for local businesses. First of all, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for hanging out with me this entire year and doing this special series at the end of each quarter. I hope a lot of people got a lot out of it. But before we let them go, let's recap a little bit. Let's let them give them some actions so that they can take with them. And I know they're probably partying it up with their families right now because, but we got to kick off 2023 the right way. And, we're going to tell them, go to the show notes, download the wheel, for the 9 elements, and do yourself a favor and go through the other 3 episodes, follow it through, and maybe you can take this into 2023 and really launch your business the right way for this year. whether you've been in business for 20 years or you've been in business for 2 years, this is something that can help you. You want to add anything to that, Jen?
No, I mean, we've created this toolbook or this little toolkit just for you, and it does outline what the 9 elements are. So even if you haven't at this moment listened to the previous, all 9 that we mentioned are there. It gives you a tool to evaluate and diagnose where you are today and really look at where you want to go. And now is, a very important time to do that. And I would even recommend maybe, taking some time to think about the year that was and the year that will be, and think about what worked, what didn't work, what would you like to do over, and then create some new standards for what changes you're going to make in 2023. And really make sure that you plan some time for that evaluative experience. It's so important to pause for the cause and celebrate what you did accomplish and how you did it. And then really take that learning, and let's make sure that it gets anchored in and carried forward. And this toolkit's a great way for you to engage in that thought process.
Yeah. You just said something I forgot. Part of that toolkit is also one of Jen's favorite, famous Back to the Future exercise. So definitely use that now. This is some downtime. Most businesses are very, very slow at this point. This is the best time to do it. Look at that exercise if you haven't done it already, and drill down and set your 2023 up the right way.
Absolutely. And of course, in the thread of mentorship, we are here as resources. If you need support in that experience, if you want to make changes, you want to up-level your business in 23, scaling, leveraging, whatever that is, it's going to require taking a deeper look at your whole map as a whole, but also your marketing and the leads and the people that you want to bring to the table to serve. And certainly I'm a great resource for how you're going to serve those people and the overarching business model of that. And Frank is an excellent resource for making sure that those people are ready and willing and waiting for you to serve.
Correctamundo. So let's bid farewell to these folks, Jen. Happy New Year to you. Happy holidays to everyone. I really, when I thought about this starting in the beginning of the year, I didn't think it will turn out this well. So I'm glad it did. And I'm glad a lot of people got a lot out of it. So, so next year we just got to keep it going and help them out in other ways. But this is definitely something that's going to help them this year. So with that, I'm going to bid farewell to this episode. This has been Frank Deming, the local business guy, and you've just been blessed by the great Jennifer Flynn. So until next year, everyone, peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes, so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.